Wow, this is great. Sorry, I got completely distracted for a second. You don't know, when the Xbox was originally announced, one of the people on stage with Bill Gates during the announcement was The Rock. Don't know why they thought that was the thing they should do, but that's a thing they did. But ever since then, he has actually partnered with Microsoft to donate Xboxes to hospitals. So he'll go in as his like movie character with whatever the newest Xbox is in a gaming station to like give to the kids so they can play, and he like is there to hang out with them for a little bit.
That's
And
awesome.
so he's doing Gamers Outreach is a new organization they're trying to help push forward using that same principle, and he's helping with it. That's really cool. Man, we better not find out he's a fucking pedophile. That's all I gotta say.
You knock on wood, motherfucker.
We need to keep that one around for a little bit. I am surprised too. But are we done talking about pussy or what?
Yeah.
Never.
Let's get this sausage party on the roll.
Get this sausage fest on the roll. Everyone has a drink?
Drink.
Yeah. Cheers.
Right now I'm going to
Cheers.
have
Clink,
the
clink, clink. Cool.
Cheater.
grapefruit cardamom. Clink, clank, clank, clank,
Clink,
clink,
clank.
clank,
Clink,
clink,
clank,
clank.
clank. Ooh,
I know we
yeah.
will let John already interrupt. He just rudely won't cheer, folks. That's the case. Hello and welcome to Strange Happy Hour. I, of course, am one of your hosts, Brent the Jester Head Metcalf. Along to my left
The dispatcher, Mark Plover.
and on to the right,
Handsome John Pettit.
grumpy, handsome John won't cheers with his co-host.
I
Of course, we
cheers
come to you
before
each
you
and
do.
every week.
He's so sensitive. He's just so sensitive.
To come and talk with you about all the really cool tech news as well as the super nerdy video game
Just
news
the
out
tip.
there. Of course, we don't have time to talk about John's tip or everything in the news this week. We don't have time to talk about some very sad news. Jeopardy host Alex Trebek passing away, unfortunately. Please, if you have not seen them, go to the SNL skits with Will Ferrell. They are... Watch them in his honor. We do not have time to discuss how the Max Effect Trilogy Remastered is finally announced in 2021. And we also don't have time to talk about how PT was originally backwards compatible on PS5 until Konami became a bunch of cunts and got rid of it. That's right, I said it. I said it. It's such bullshit.
It really is.
Anyways, we do have time to discuss what we like to call on this very show each and every week as we gather together under our COVID bunkers that we'll be in forever because no one wears a fucking mask. The important. I don't know if you noticed, Brent's a little rowdy today.
Just a little.
I was like,
I see
man,
what
he usually goes
vacation
on a lot
does to you.
longer
You're
and
not
it's
allowed to
shorter
go-
and he's quiet. I was like, uh-oh.
You're not allowed to go on vacation with this one.
Wherever he is.
This one anymore.
Going
This
that
one.
direction. But I do think it's time for a dispatcher for you to talk to us about what's going on with Zoom and how they lied to us.
Oh, they lied to a lot of people, like, companies and the FTC, and they lied in their marketing because apparently the end-to-end encryption that they had specifically talked about putting in place, which was 256-bit end-to-end secured encryption, meaning that literally not even Zoom can see the contents of your call, was a complete lie.
Dun, dun, dun.
I want the Maury, turns out it was a complete fabrication. She's like, wait,
You are the father.
You are not the father.
the father.
No,
Well, that's
but,
not great.
No, it's not. So they didn't say specifically what the level, the level of encryption was, but apparently the FTC received, the Federal Trade Commission received a complaint stating that Zoom did not meet the expectations or meet the claims that it was making on its products whenever it was selling, and its stock price had soared
Yeah.
as a result of this because
everyone was using them.
They were
Mhm.
supposedly one of the only communication platforms to do end-to-end encryption like that for large-scale meetings like that, which is it's a technical marvel to try to do.
Correct.
So
Yeah.
it's possible. It just takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of research and whatnot to make happen. Now, Zoom being one of the first to jump on the market with this, of course, blew up. Now, the problem is that on the other side of this, apparently the 256-bit encryption that they had talked about was not 256-bit encryption. Second, The end-to-end encryption was not true end-to-end because apparently the security certificates that were generated for that end-to-end encryption were stored on the Chinese servers that they have. Because we haven't had, you know, lawsuits and all kinds of, you know, company or product bannings, you know, as a result of data going through US, you know, customer data going through Chinese servers or anything like that, which apparently also housed a lot of the saved content, like recorded meetings and whatnot, onto those unencrypted Chinese servers in the meantime until their encrypted cloud server transfer happened.
Good God.
Like, this is a giant ass
sounds fake.
storm.
Cryptographic.
Like, you've got to be kidding me here. Whenever you make a claim to say, yeah, all right, we're going to offer probably one of the more secure platforms out here, meaning that, and one of the items referenced specifically, it had offered HIPAA compliance guidelines when it itself was not a HIPAA compliant service. So medical offices, for example, that are sharing patient data or patient information verbally over this meeting, for example, like let's say there's multiple surgeons trying to talk through a single patient, for example, over a Zoom call, which to them might make sense because, you know, you can have live consult between each other. Well, if you're sharing that information, it's technically a HIPAA violation on behalf of that, or on the side of that.
Well, in a person on the surface, you may think that's not a big deal, but what if the CEO of Disney was the one on that table? What if everybody was like, should we be worried about what decisions are about to be made and who's going to be making them? Oh my God, is that going to change stock prices? Oh my God, is that going to change a whole lot of stuff that people didn't initially intend? But so it also just reminds me, I'm sorry not to cut you off, but like imagine being at a bank. Here we have all this money, and we say we're going to protect your money. We're going to throw it in this vault. We're going to lock it up nice and tight. But in reality, you're at a strip mall, and it's behind a freaking single deadbolt door that anybody could kick in.
Now, if I remember correctly, the way around this. Oh, okay. So Zoom did not provide any kind of end-to-end encryption for Zoom meetings that were conducted outside of Zoom's connector product. Now, for companies who would have used the connector product, to be fair, a lot of larger companies probably would have had this. And the Zoom connector product that they sell is enterprise level, where you yourself, as the company, host your own Zoom servers.
Gotcha.
So the clients that you use, for example, connect to that connector server. So, for example, like in the pre-show, we were talking about Atrium or Novant possibly, using Zoom for their meetings, from a HIPAA compliance perspective. If it's hosted on their own servers, that's entirely different. Any kind of HIPAA compliance to some extent, like if they're selling the product as, it does have end-to-end encryption between clients, irrespective of where you're hosting it with the connector product, aside from it saying, encryption is maintained between the server and the client, which is easier to implement, and I guarantee they probably already had in their product. But client to client, encryption is a little bit more difficult that way. But the connector product is probably covered here for larger businesses that would have purchased it and probably implemented it. However, companies such as the one I work for example, use Zoom for all of our meetings. There's a lot of trade secret information that, is kind of shared on that. And that's not information that, we necessarily want in a recorded conversation that we just ourselves said, yeah, we want to record on an encrypted line here.
Yeah.
To suddenly end up on a server in China right next to the encryption keys for the conversation we just had for apparently up to 60 days before it's transferred over to the encrypting cloud program. Or encrypted cloud platform. So, this is a big old farce.
Yeah.
I really hope their stock price and their business valuation tanks as a result of it. This is straight up consumer and business deception.
Absolutely. I mean, once again, you're talking about the fact that not only did they lie about it, but they literally boasted, and their value shot through the roof because they were saying they're one of the few large scale platforms that could actually pull this off. It turns out they were lying the entire time.
If I remember,
the only other one I know is Cisco.
Yeah. So its user base, Zoom's user base, around COVID was already going to go up anyway because it's a meeting platform. But apparently their user base skyrocketed from 10 million in December of 2019 to then 300 million 5 months later.
Jesus.
Yes.
Like, what? Like, I mean, you're talking about a massive user base increase because a ton of people see that this is a great product for their business. So they're going to start looking at paying mass scale enterprise costs for this, or even small business costs for this, or personal costs for this, to maintain it or to use it. So
I have
there
to
needs to be
wonder if the
retribution for
president
this.
was using a app form that was not end-to-end encryption during some
John,
of
I'm
his
sorry, you cut
meetings.
out there.
Oh,
Cut
can you hear
out
me
in the
now?
middle.
Yeah.
Okay. I was wondering if people like our president or senators or congressmen were using possibly an unsecured version of this on an application on like an iPhone or something, thinking it was end-to-end, and it wasn't.
Well, not only that, like in America, and we're not the only country, but we live here. So
It's
I get to use
America
example.
until January
America.
20th.
We have this like false patriotism where it's like our companies are the best. There's nothing that can defeat us. We utilize only American-made companies for this, and this. And here you are with this American-made company that's like all over every other American-made company that utilizes its platform, and possibly giving that information over to anyone over in China who has access to those servers.
Yep.
All right, yeah.
Yep.
I'll take a little bit of this, take a little bit of that. This
Yeah.
is like an American buffet.
Yeah, pretty much.
So the biggest, so apparently Zoom is handling currently lawsuits from investors and consumers.
I'm sure.
However, the settlement reached with the FTC specifically states that, quote, Zoom is not required to offer redress, refunds, or even notice to its customers that material claims regarding the security of its services were false.
See,
they don't have to say anything about it.
That's the bullshit right there. That's the fucking bullshit. Are you kidding me? You are a corporation that lied to its consumers, and you don't have to say anything?
I just want to put it out there. Target, Home Depot, Sony, all of them had infrastructure breaches and never said anything for months.
So,
Yep.
but they all eventually had to come out once they did their research, right? They went in and said, "Here's what happened," after they were done. They were required to by law.
Yeah, but how many people could have saved themselves from being hurt? Who could have stopped something from happening?
By the time the breach happened, you can't do anything. Like me being an example, right? I was a PlayStation owner at that time. I had a PSN account. The breach happened, and I was not informed for a month and a half as a consumer. But in that time, they shut everything down. Like Sony specifically shut down the PSN for that reason.
Was that the first, second, third, or fourth, data breach that they had?
So that was the first PlayStation related data breach.
That was the one where they found credit card data stored in a plain text file.
Yeah, they were real smart. You could tell they working real hard. Those potato servers really fucking. The fact they could play Resistance: Fall of Man was surprising to all of us. And I'm not trying to absolve Sony. I'm saying like they did face legal action and communicate with the consumers, tried to make it up to them. Like they at least did something.
The funny part is all of this has to go through the FTC as far as the settlement's concerned. Anyway, it's a government entity, which means that most of its operations are public knowledge anyway.
Yep.
Like,
hence how we found this out.
Like, why is it that Zoom doesn't have to say anything to its customers? You just have to let the public find out by news articles, basically, that say, yeah, here's the FTC, paperwork that states specifically from a FOIA request that says, Zoom was committing, straight up fraud to the public. Like,
the problem is unless this hits mainstream media, less than 1% of people are even going to know about it. Less than 1% of the 300 million users are going to know about it.
Now, the funny bit here for me, or the interesting bit here for me, is that Zoom's not required to offer redress, refunds, or even notice to its customers. They don't say anything about investors.
Yeah.
Gotta help
them. So
the
customers that are suing them, the FTC might be able to sway the Supreme Court to say, hey, we already told them in our own government decision here that they're not going to have to pay redress to customers. But investors can come forward and probably say, no, you guys can't lie to us and get away with that. Well, I put money into your company and you're supposed to, increase stock price as a result here. That's not how this works.
The FTC doesn't, I don't believe, I might be wrong, but I don't think they have the authority to say you can't sue. That's a court's decision. not the FTC. The FTC says this is our recommendation of what we want to do, and people have the right to say, no, I don't agree with that. And the court says, yep, that's bullshit. You can do what the fuck you want.
But the court could also be swayed by the idea that the FTC made that decision and say, yeah, another government entity said that they're not going to have to pay anything back, so we're not going to require it either.
I'm sorry, but any judge who looks at this deal and goes, man, what did you do? Blow him? Like, I mean, that's the only thing I can come up with. Like, holy God.
That's when they're the ones getting blown too, apparently.
We talk
Swallow
about
the gravy.
We didn't want, dick sucking to be derogatory. People should enjoy it.
I agree.
But
I very much agree.
So here's another, I guess, feature kicker for me. Zoom Opener is a little sub feature for this anyway that was implemented in here. This is all outside of there's just all around shady shit going on here that doesn't even have to do with the end-to-end encryption here. Zoom Opener. If you guys don't know what Zoom Opener is apparently a local web server that Zoom installs onto your Mac device specifically. Windows and Linux are not quite the problem here because you can get around and open the application automatically, no problem. But what they want is one click from the web page. Yes, launch. I want to join this call and launch in Chrome and any Chrome-based browsers, including Edge now. And same thing goes for Linux devices. Firefox does the same thing where you can click don't ask me again for this and allow, where if you click the join meeting button, it will automatically launch the application, take you straight into Zoom. Yeah. Safari is a little different. They have a malware protection item so that any website that tries to launch an application always requires you to click this button that basically says, do you approve this website to launch this application on your Mac? As a strict security, design here. Well, apparently, I guess there's a loophole around that with having a local web server, where if they redirect you now I've been trying to find this, and this is just my own thought process here. If it's a local web server that they're installing, is that local web servers may not have that requirement.
Okay.
So if you try to forward somebody, or even open like a little frame or a hidden section of a website that opens that local website, if you have Zoom installed already and Zoom Opener being one of the other items installed, then Zoom Opener can bypass that security measure and launch the application straight up. Now that's my understanding.
Okay.
Like that's how my developer brain thinks about this is the idea of how you get around security loopholes like that. Is local applications and local web servers, it would make sense for them to be able to launch parts of the application directly without a security concern because it's already installed on your computer. Which this is also straight up deception because they don't tell you that they're installing Zoom Opener. It's just a bunch of people started going, what is this? Why do I have something running on,
Zoom
what is it?
Opener.
Specifically, it was like port 9480 or 9421. Like, why do I have something listening on this on an application called Zoom Opener from a directory in my home directory under .zoomus?
But when you install Zoom on Mac, it then creates a separate web server locally on your machine. They use that in order to forward basically. That is like
that's my understanding. But yeah, the idea is that the Zoom Opener is a security bypass around Safari's default. Do you want to launch this application?
Reason for that. There's a reason why they're using.
They wanted a seamless integration, so they did it. It's just fraud.
End-to-end encryption. I wanted end-to-end encryption. That's what I wanted.
Like even with end-to-end encryption, this is just all around shady. Like between the two of them, straight up.
Oh yeah.
So the consequences of this, I'm assuming someone can basically hijack it and turn it on whenever they want to.
So it's not even that. Like people haven't even talked about third party in this at all. More of first party issues. First off, in Macs, short of you having an uninstall package that you have to execute to uninstall a program, which some applications do, like Adobe software and some more advanced stuff. Most applications, whenever you want to uninstall them on a Mac, you literally go to your applications folder and you highlight the icon for it and you delete it and it uninstalls. And that's it. Like, that's all you have to do. Like, Windows feels so much more official of, let me uninstall this program and it deletes everything from program files and it's gone. Mac is designed to be more simple. The problem with just deleting the application is that doesn't delete Zoom opener.
Correct.
It still sits and executes from your user's directory even after you've removed Zoom from the device.
You would think that they would
What?
get rid of the evidence, quote unquote.
Because a lot of people were like, what is Zoom opener? Why do I still have this program running on my computer? And this is on Zoom's own forums, by the way.
Yeah,
so
sure.
somebody responded there with a link to a Reddit post or a blog post somewhere that said, hey, run this command in here, and if you see something listening on this port, Zoom opener is still running on your background. Kill it, and then delete the entire Zoom folder from your home directory.
Oh my God.
This is just some shady shit. Like, Zoom needs to pay massive retributions for this, because there are HIPAA violations that are possible here. There's trade secret information that could be stored elsewhere and possibly leaked. And it just opens up a shit ton of questions about how is my data being handled here?
Oh, 100%. 100%. Well, not only in that same line, like, how are you handling my security?
Mm-hmm.
My data, but also like lying to me. You're like, I'm supposed to feel good about utilizing you. You're supposed to help in this pandemic where we're all looking at numbers rise globally, so we're gonna have to do it again, and you're not gonna fucking
end-to-end encryption is supposed to be, I hold one certificate, that the other guy holds one certificate, the other guy holds one certificate, the other guy holds one certificate. And every person that joins shares a public copy of that certificate to decrypt the information coming in, and only I hold the key to encrypt the information going out. But you're telling me that those keys are now stored on a Chinese server somewhere?
Yeah.
Are they going to be able to tell if anybody else accessed that information?
Get out of here. What?
Are they going to be able to tell if anybody else accessed this information?
I would imagine they have their own security policies on Chinese servers. The problem is that if they are Chinese, they have to go to the Chinese government to get approval to be able to do an investigation on those.
So they definitely went through every single strand of that code. Cool.
Yeah, 100%. Yep, definitely. I'm being sarcastic, of course. No, but it's like, short of like Xi Jinping himself, coming down and saying, yeah, that's wrong, which he isn't going to do, that's just like, the problem is that we'll never know.
Good Pooh Bear.
If anything, they're
we could say that here in America, damn it.
And that's how they go to Zoom and get my fucking calls.
Oh God. But it's just all around bullshit. They really need to pay retributions for this, but unfortunately the FTC is trying to bar them from having to pay anything as part of a settlement deal. And settlement really should not be the option here. A lot of political heads have been specifically screaming about this, like, that's not cool.
No.
Like, they don't just get away with that after duping 300 million people.
Here's what I can tell you is, like, countless individuals in like counties are using this public forum, which means they're using this as a private forum, because they're not going to use different technology for one and the other when they believe it works just fine. So I want to know how many municipalities have had like behind the door meetings about funding, about corruption, about all these things, and it's all just sitting on a server somewhere.
Yep. Court cases, private committee hearings, all kinds of stuff. Yep.
Well, not only that, but the FTC also mandates that they have to delete everything in 31 days. So even if they wanted to get to it and you wanted to look at it, it's going to be gone in 31 days, and there's not going to be any evidence.
That's part of a settlement, to be fair, is if the settlement says nuke it. They don't care past for an investigative standpoint. They don't care from a content standpoint or what a customer can access kind of standpoint.
But that affects, the way our court systems are right now, you're not going to be able to get any kind of hearing within 30 days.
No. I mean, the point is that realistically, the FTC being a separate entity, what you would have to do is you'd have to go to a district court and file for I may be saying this wrong. File for an injunction against it, and the idea is that it would put a block. The federal district court or the state court, one or the other, would put in place a hold on that to prevent any dealing with that federal government or that federal organization or the FTC and Zoom. Put that entire negotiation on hold, period.
Yeah.
And the idea is then you could go through it with litigation, but the problem is that you personally would have to be willing to shill out for that if you feel like it's worth going there to maybe find out whether or not your information's gone out. And the idea is you would have to essentially work with the courts to reshape that deal entirely. Which, to be fair, Congress is going to have a much easier time doing than an individual would. Congress could straight up step in right now and say, no, that's not okay.
They need but they won't.
But they won't. And that's part of the problem,
Oop.
Because they're cowards. Please let us know what you think about the debacle of Doom lying to you. Are you hurt? You should be. Are you pissed? You should be. Let us know in the comments floating directly above me like an angry cloud because I'm just more irritated with large tech corporations ruled by individuals.
Not an encrypted cloud. Let's be fair here.
Not an encrypted cloud at all.
It's an unencrypted cloud with your
right
video storage and your encryption keys on it.
Correct. All the porn you can right into it. Right into it. But let us know in the comment section. All right, Handsome John, talk to us about what's going on with PS5 on launch day. That's this week. We're excited. We're recording on Monday.
Yep.
We have a special day on Tuesday, and then we're off limits on Thursday because we're playing these brand new boxes.
It's going to be beautiful. If you were worried about you didn't get your online order, no worries. You'll get it in a physical store. No big deal. Oh, I'm just kidding. They're not being sold in physical stores. I'm sorry about that. Did you not race and stay up for hours and clicking to possibly get a pre-order
from Walmart, if I recall?
God, dude, so many different
Any and all of them.
Yeah. So unfortunately, Sony has confirmed that the PS5 launch day sales will be online only this year.
Yep.
There'll be no physical units available for purchase on the launch day of November 12th, and that's just to avoid lines, so people aren't close to each other, camping out, spreading COVID, and all that other stuff, which if they get a PS5, they can go home, be sick, and be happy anyway.
Wow.
Really should state.
But
we're joking.
It is very much a joke. Please don't do that. But they, in their quote, they said, in the interest of keeping our gamers and retailers and staff amidst COVID-19, confirmed that all day of launch sales will be conducted through online stores of our retail partners, which I don't have a problem with. I just wish that there was a little bit more foresight into what was going on. And if this is what they were going to do, it was announced well before the week of launch day.
Yeah. Consumer transparency would have been nice. I think the fear is that the online pre-orders would have been worse than they were, which we all know were terrible. So
I don't know how they could get worse. I mean, it was constant crashes. The fact that we got what we did, it blows my mind.
Persistence. What that was.
Oh yeah, determination is what we were, baby. Woo! But
that's what the Russian was talking about in John Wick 1. He's talking about us.
That's right. Just iron will. It also makes me wonder if the scalpers are actually going to be a lot more successful this year. Christmas is coming up. It's going to be nigh impossible to get a PS5 in the store, even when they do hit. Say they whatever day that they start becoming physically available in stores, it's still going to be like frickin' Black Friday.
So every retailer that I have seen so far has stated they will not have PS5s in.
Yeah, not before the end of the year. They're just not going to do it.
So they said they have inventory and they will be selling them. Not going to be.
Mm-hmm. So if you're not the fastest clicker in the West or have the best internet connection, sorry.
Yeah. It's there's a couple of like things that I think are kind of sad, right? Like the whole hype of launch day. So many videos recorded of people outside of stores and decided to pick up a console. If you pre-order retail, typically it's easy to get early. Like I guarantee if GameStop could, they would give people 10 p.m. on Wednesday. They do that all the time with very ordered games. On top of the fact that you're absolutely right. Like there's plenty of people who either have crazy lives, so it makes it challenging. Like my boss who has, 2 kids and company and all this other stuff. He didn't have a time to pre-order. And it was like, oh, I'll just walk in a store on launch day. I was like, well, nope. I got some news for you, buddy. Or the people who just are in areas where they don't have crazy internet connection. Like they are kind of stuck, whatever they. So yeah, it's It's an interesting precedent, and I didn't even think about the scalpers. That's a very good point.
Yeah, I feel like they're going to be a lot more successful. And to be honest, I'm going to have to apologize to Evan, because if it gets crazy out there, I will.
Wow.
Actually, you know what? I'll just sell mine. I don't care.
I'll
give Evan that one. Yeah, no, I'll get me before I get Evan, because mine will be worth more anyway. But to be fair, like I could see it. I could see people paying outrageous amounts of money, wanting this device for Christmas for their kids, and paying upwards of like probably $3,000 for a console.
Listen, okay, I need the camera to pan out on me. The camera person. I know 2020 has been a hell year. It's been very challenging. You've had kids at home more often than you thought. Well, like when you had kids, you were like, yeah, but when they get to this age, I get to pawn them off school for like a certain number of hours. Not the case this year. I get it. Tough. But let me tell you what. Don't need to spend money that will probably end up going to medical bills at some point in time on a PlayStation 5 more than the retail value to some shitty scalper neckbeard fucker who used bots to get it. When you can take that money, buy 2 Switches, and your kids will be fucking happy.
No, because there's no trophies. But
the Switch itself is a trophy.
But here's another point too. And to be fair, if you have a PS4 Pro, you're fine. You absolutely have no reason outside if you absolutely need to play Demon's Souls, which I know there are a few of you out there.
Yep.
Miles Morales Spider-Man, which is going to be fun, but a short 25-hour experience. Sackboy's Big Adventure, yeah, that's the one you need to really, really buy it for. Or at
that game's
most,
gonna be incredible.
It's probably going to be fun, but it's not worth having to beat your freaking skull over and pay a bunch of money for.
Well,
and
you totally...
Assassin's Creed Valhalla, which is also available on PS4.
My favorite part's
when
you cut out again, randomly.
Yeah.
Gonna fix your mic later.
Assassin's Creed Valhalla. Assassin's Creed Valhalla is also available on PS4.
Well, so all of those games except for Demon's Souls are available on PS4.
That's right. Miles Morales was there. Yeah.
Like every single one of those. So you're absolutely right. Like if you have a family, don't get me wrong, sick new toy, always fun. Wait till March. Wait till April. Like when they're gonna be rolling around, you'll be fine. Again, buy the new games, buy them a Switch, or better yet, do something else crazy. You can spend an equal amount of money that you would spend on the PS5 on something cooler and bigger around the house that they can play around with until the PS5 is affordable.
But I will say, even if go buy the Xbox Series X, you're gonna have some disappointed kids that wanted a PS5. But believe me, they're not going to be left out of anything.
Yeah, but you could play the Hulk. The Hulk's not Spider-Man.
I just want to note that's a double disc because you're also talking about the fact that they won't get scalped. Like they're not popular enough that they won't get Jesus. Like that's just all around bad. Oh my gosh.
Look, don't get me wrong. The Xbox Series X is a fantastic machine, and the PS5 is honestly probably underpowered compared to it. But it's got a few tricks up its sleeve, and I'm really excited to see what Sony pulls out. It's going to be about 100%. The deets when it comes to this generation for sure.
Yeah, politician here. So don't get me wrong. The Xbox Series X is a fine device.
But
I just don't want to be like, I don't know, docked and freaking drug out of my house. You say that about the Xbox.
I mean, if you talk about Tesla that way, maybe, but
Tesla. Let's talk about those windows.
No, I guess I don't understand why we're doing an online only system when we could do a system similar to what the UK is doing. So the UK, for those who don't know, just went back on a full lockdown as of Thursday.
Yeah.
Non-essential, complete anything non-essential, shops, whatever, all closed because they had a resurgence. The exceptions apparently are being made for click and collect and time slot collection systems from stores. Stores can remain open as long as they're making sales on that behalf, because specifically, like the UK just sort of dropped this out of nowhere, and apparently Sony and Microsoft ran into a problem. Did we talk about this at all?
No.
No. Okay. But apparently an exception was made specifically. So the idea of a click and collect system is that you have the mobile app, you purchased it technically online for an in-store purchase. and you can pick it up that way. And the idea is that scalpers aren't necessarily going to go for that because it's a physical pickup at a physical store location, and there's only a certain amount of stock at that location. So the idea is, why would you go through the extra hassle of that when you can have it shipped to you and you can go and resell it before that? And a time slot system, I think, works just as well. Okay, you only have a maximum of 3 people scheduled for a 5 to 10 minute time slot for them to come in and pick up their system. Sure, I think that works great. Instead of like one person being able to set up 6 accounts suddenly and purchase 6 PlayStations, if they want to scout them out from a bot system, I don't know. I think the idea of going through a hybrid approach here might be better, but obviously it's Sony's decision if they want to do an online only system.
I also like the lottery one too. I think we talked about a lottery system somewhere.
We have, yeah.
Yeah.
To be fair, all I was going to say is like they could be doing something similar. The key is that you can't just.
Right. I mean, I definitely think that's a good idea, but I mean, like, based on like what Sony's talking about here is that launch day sales will be online only. Yeah. So, it'll have to be delivered to you apparently. So. Now, is it pre-orders can still be picked up, or?
Yes, pre-orders can still be picked up from the store.
Right. Okay, that's right. Yeah.
Fortunately, I don't have to worry about that. I'm going to be vigilant. I'm going to be sitting in front of my glass door.
Like a puppy, waiting for his owner to come home.
He's gonna move his table like right in front of the door there, so he's just staring out the window or staring out the glass at it, like waiting for the delivery guy to come up.
Dude, that Thursday is gonna be brutal because Snow barks half the time at various people walking around the neighborhood, and all I'm gonna hear is, "Oh, it's here! Oh no, it's not here. Okay, come on, get to the end of this day." Also, Amazon confirmed shipment. Or has not. It's on Walmart.
Ruh-roh.
Mine hasn't shipped yet.
They confirmed it will be shipping. It has not shipped yet. Tomorrow should be the day of ship.
Yeah, we'll find out. Because it depends on where they're shipping it from. It's like
hopefully not Wisconsin.
No, not Wisconsin.
Those frickin' cheap. Please let us know what your thoughts are on pre-orders happening only online for the PS5. You can let us know what that is right in front of this on John's
Merca.
Or maybe as a thought bubble off to the side, every time his mic cuts out, it could just be your comment that's actually saying. Anyways, time to move on to our final topic of the show.
I don't know why it's cutting out.
It looks like there is some issues happening on the old Sega Sammy side. So Sega seems to be suffering some financial hardships. It looks like Sega Sammy is going to be selling off its arcade business. So not sure. Sega is owned by a company called Sega Sammy, which is a combination of Sega and together. Sammy was an arcade developer, Sega being console game developers. They are selling off a large chunk of it. 85.1% of its shares are being sold off. So this is all related to the fact that COVID has completely declined the entirety of this business. Of course, arcades are buildings where you go and play games or hang out with friends. That is not viable in a pandemic world. So Sega is unable to actually carry this financial burden. As it's going to impact their Q1 of next year considerably. They're saying that this is extraordinary losses for the company. So much so that Sega is asking 650 employees to voluntarily retire. So they're asking, while also slashing their top executive salaries. So, excuse me. They're trying to recover the earnings. Here's a quote. In order to recover earnings at an early stage in a sustainable growth in the future, consider that it is cost reduction centered on fixed expenses, build an even more efficient system, decided to call for voluntary fees. Asking for a retirement date of the 20th of February 2021. Payment of extraordinary retirement allowances, employment support, if they choose. So this is pretty interesting from multiple standpoints. One, Sega Sammy, the parent company, being so far out. I actually knew Sega had lots of arcades in Japan. I did not realize they were so financially required to keep the company going. Actually, a pretty big hit here. Two, Japan has been culture that I won't pretend to understand all of it, but I have from various like conversations learned over the years, understood that most of the time they will keep employees on until they choose to leave, including older employees that don't necessarily have a job at the company. Okay? They will give them what's called a window promotion, where you get like a cube by the window to do nothing, right? Like it's just literally
you do the
in
menial
honor
stuff.
it's in honor of the fact that you've been at the company, you helped build it up to this point. You can still financially support your family, and we don't have to feel bad for firing you. It's a pretty common practice from my understanding of practices. So one would hope that a lot of people come out of retirement for this, but I cannot imagine they have 6 employees that are just, that's a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, and they're also doing other major things, right? The company's representative director's monthly salary be cut by 30%. Senior executive vice president and senior vice president get 20%, 10% monthly cuts respectively. They're starting as like going to effect starting November, and they're saying that it'll come out in March of 2021. They'll get rid of those restrictions if they can. We also expect to record approximately 10 billion yen extraordinary losses. Structural reform expenses ending in 2021. So all of this being on the table, I wanted to talk about this mostly because there's another rumor going around of Microsoft buying a Japanese developer. And so the rumor for a while has been it would be Sega, and I've talked on this very show about how that seems impossible unless an extraordinary circumstance comes around, and I think we finally hit that extraordinary circumstance. So do either of you think it is a possibility of Microsoft scooping up to take Sega? Would it be worth the loss?
I think that Microsoft is going to buy Konami. They're being too quiet. I think they're getting hit just as hard as Sega
That would
has.
make me so angry. That would make
and
me
I
so
think
mad.
Microsoft is going to buy Konami. I think we're going to see that.
Konami and they got Metal Gear, I would be so angry.
That would be fantastic. I do think that they might grab some of these, not Sega as much as like maybe Atlas.
Atlas is owned by Sega.
I know, but if Sega decides to sell portions of it off, I could see that going. I don't know if I could see Microsoft getting into that. I mean,
why wouldn't they? I mean, like they've been in the market of buying up new game development companies, so opportunity arises. Why not? You know, hell, didn't they even throw in their hat to try to buy TikTok? So
yeah,
like
not wrong.
Like that, like even on all fronts, like regardless of whether it's just gaming, like they're in the business of buying businesses at this point. So I think it makes sense for them to try to even explore the avenue at least.
Well, a lot of people are wanting Nintendo to do it instead of Microsoft doing it because I believe, as Brent was talking about, more the honorific culture of like, you know, we want to keep it, you know, in-house. We don't want it to go to the States. And I could agree with that. And the Switch is a good platform for the stuff that they do. But
and Sega historically as a company has suffered for that and succeeded for it. So like Console Wars is a dramatization battle between Nintendo and how the Sega America team helped pull the Sega Genesis into the lead and like took over SNES sales before the console generation ended. And at the end of that success, Sega Japan so frustrated that they took control fully back because they're like, listen, we're the parent company. We should be able to say what we are. We're the Japanese figureheads. Like, we know what we're doing. Like, and to have some Americans try and tell us how to handle a company is going to work. Yeah. And they launched the Saturn, which failed tremendously. Launched after that the Dreamcast, which also failed tremendously.
Which it shouldn't have. To be fair, the Dreamcast should not have failed.
No, we can blame the Saturn entirely for that. $299 US out today. That's a dumb fucking move. Don't ever do that. Don't ever launch a console that way. To this day, I still say that. Don't do that. Don't announce and launch the console that day. That's
Ain't
really
no one
dumb.
just going to pull $300 out of their butt. That isn't.
Correct.
I mean, the majority of people.
Well, especially when you look at console prices today, in which most of them are $400, $500.
Mm-hmm.
I do still think that it's more likely for them to go to Sony for that reason, right? Like that national pride of, well, we can still work with a Japanese company. They have the money. They know how to handle us. But Xbox is already making these side deals. Like we talked about, we actually watched the advertisement today before we started the show of Yakuza Like a Dragon, which is a franchise that launched on PlayStation 3, I think it's 2. That has been a PlayStation console exclusive literally until this year. And then Like a Dragon was announced as a launch exclusive on Xbox for 6 months. So there are these small plays that keep happening where I'm like, possible.
Yeah.
Possible.
I do think that there are certain things that I feel like would work better in the Sony sphere and other things that would work great in the Microsoft sphere. So I don't know how that would turn out over one or the other.
I mean, it just means any Sonic game that comes out from now on is going to be PS5 exclusive. So
yeah, and people will buy it for that. Not that game specifically, but those types of games, that legacy of games.
And that's super interesting too, because that creates another wrinkle in the story, because Nintendo and Sega have been partnering really well recently, specifically with Sonic. Like Sonic is in Smash. There's the Sonic and Mario Olympics. Like there'd have to be some really interesting finagling on those contracts, I imagine.
I don't think it would be too hard for Nintendo to kind of merge with Sega in their properties in that manner. A lot of what's I won't say that. There are some Atlas properties that are not kid friendly, I would say.
So you say that, but they literally just put Persona 5's main protagonist Joker in Smash. Like,
yeah, but is Persona 5 that bad? Really?
There are some.
Yeah.
There's some moments where I would not.
Is it involve panties a lot?
There's some. Yeah, there's some panties.
There's panties. It can't be on the Switch.
There's some questionable outfits. But Atlas has put plenty of games on Nintendo. They worked with Nintendo previously.
Bayonetta is on Switch. She's covered in hair some of the time.
That's true. And Shin Megami Tensei, which is from Atlas, the 4th one and the 5th one, if I remember correctly, are launching on Nintendo. 4th one was on 3DS. The 5th one's going to be on Switch. Like there is that established thing in there as well. So we'll see. I just was curious as to what your own thoughts were, especially with all this rumors with Xbox running around. Hopefully Sega can figure it out and they won't have to sell themselves, because I do like competition, and I do think that if we have some of these larger historical companies keeping to themselves and also helping build content, that helps everyone. But I guess what the COVID future.
I'm just saying, if Sega's getting hit this bad, because I mean, Konami is full of pachinko machines, so it's like their entire business right now.
They're next. Next.
They've got to be selling something, or they're going to be in the same boat. So that cash grab, oh my god!
They got Castlevania and Metal Gear. I would be so upset.
Well, the thing is, what is the Metal Gear really worth right now without Kojima?
We'll talk about that off this.
Why? What are you talking about right now? I'm scared little.
I want to talk about it right now. I won't even think about it. It hurt my brain. I feel it. But please let us know what you think about Sega Sammy's financial situation. Do you think Xbox will pick them up? Do you think Nintendo? Do you think Sony? Will they be able to live alive on their own? Please let us know in the comments. Floating directly in front of my chest like the Sonic symbol. Sonic Man. That made no sense. I'm going to just move on to last call.
Yeah.
Last call.
All right, you know what? I'm going to do the ding ding real quick.
It's all falling off the fucking rails. Nope. You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. Of course, you can see we're in our own quarantine bunkers, talking over one another. Mike's dropping out, but this is why it's fun.
It's typical.
You can, of course, join our Discord. We have plenty of conversation. This past
John's
weekend,
camera's out of focus, all kinds of stuff,
Everything. We did a game night. We have various audio channels. People come and chat and hang out. We have launch week for the consoles. What a great time to join our Discord, because you can come and find some new friends to play various games. It'll be
You can bet there are going to be plenty of people on Discord talking about PS5 launch, playing games together. So.
Oh my God, yes. For the weekly reading, I have a wonderful article from Kotaku about Pokemayonnaise. Pokemayonnaise?
Pokemane.
Pokemane. What?
Pokemayonnaise.
Pokemayonnaise?
I thought it was Pokemane.
No, Pokimane.
So it would be apostrophe S. So it'd be Pokemanes.
Po-
Pokemanes.
Pokemanes.
New $5 donation cap sends ripples through the Twitch community. This is an interesting article about how she has now set it so that anybody donating can only donate at most $5, saying that she makes enough money. She doesn't need the excess cash, that they should support smaller channels. And it is affecting the Twitch community quite a bit. So I thought it was a wonderful read. Check it out.
It's probably going to affect Twitch's bottom line, but
Yeah. What can you do?
Yep.
Come indeed. For weekly deals, we have Dragon Quest XI S has released a 10-hour demo. So this is less of a deal and more of a thing that you can do right now to go spend 10 hours worth of Dragon Quest and decide if you like it. If you do, your save transfers over on the device you download the demo on. So Xbox One,
awesome.
PS4, and PC. You can play up to 10 hours and then just carry over into the main game if you enjoyed it.
Wow.
Big fan.
Were we just talking about demos not that long ago?
Yes! And this game is like 100 hours. So the fact that they're like, hey, you're going to try a 10th of it. Cool. I'm in. I'm going to download it.
That's pretty significant for free. If you like it enough, you'll buy it to go to the other extra 90%. So
if you get to the 10-hour mark, you're good.
I went ahead and downloaded it last night.
Hey, nice.
Finally, our question of the week comes from Handsome John himself. You want to read it?
Sure. Let me get to it. What game or genre of game would you consider to be the pinnacle of this generation?
You're never allowed to read a question again. This is what happens when I pass the hosting gap, you son of a bitch.
You like that pause? God. I thought that was cool. Anyway.
That was good.
I'll go first. I tend to believe that this, for me personally, and this is all personal opinion, there's no fact-based anything on this crap, but this generation has been crazy when it comes to the types of games we play, the successful games. Like, I mean, just look at what we were talking about earlier with, oh God, come on. The game I just got done talking crap about, Brent. Kojima. Walking Simulator. Walking Simulator.
Oh, Death Stranding.
Death Stranding. That game was revolutionary to some people, while to others it was the most boring thing on earth. Or people like me who found a love and a huge interest in a genre that I didn't initially, which is rogue games. Rogue Legacy, Spelunky, Spelunky 2, Hades, Dead Cell. I'm getting so entranced into all of these that I'm starting to play them more than my action adventure games in a lot of instances, and I am starting to branch out a lot more with different developers than I usually do. Like, I played a lot of Supergiant games. I'm definitely going to be playing Hades, as much praise as it's been getting, and as much as me and Brett both creamed through Dead Cell like in a weekend. Like, we destroyed the freaking hell out of that.
We did on our vacation. It was a lot of fun.
Oh my God, so much fun. But I think that genre of game has really blossomed in this generation. To me, it started with Spelunky on and Rogue Legacy on Vita, and grew into the PS4 generation soon after that. And I've been falling in love with that genre more and more and more. It is something that I think that has a lot of potential in development and what people could do with it, and I'm really excited to see what they do with it in the future. Nor do I think that one game could possibly be considered to me this was the game of games for this generation. I couldn't possibly choose one, but I felt like a genre certainly could take a place in that stand. So,
okay. What about you, Mark?
So I actually have two different things here. I have a game and a genre.
Ooh, okay.
So easily the biggest one for the genre, I think of the definition of, actually not even since the last generation so much as just even the last 3 years, has been battle royales.
Yeah, that's fair.
I mean, battle royales have blown up. PUBG being I'll say sort of, the OG.
Yeah,
I'll say the DayZ mod might have been the sort of OG that mutated into what PUBG is now. But like that entire genre has blown up from Fortnite being, the biggest grossing of probably all of those games,
Turning from one of the largest failures Epic put out to becoming one of the biggest successes in video games. Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
Fortnite Storm Mode was not a great, not the greatest platform anyway, but or not the greatest game mode, I guess. And then they had a really good platform to build, a battle royale out from. And it ended up being their primary revenue stream, and still continues to be their primary revenue stream for Epic Games. So definitely an awesome setup. Plus, you've got Apex Legends, which is a free to play that if you want to jump in on. Realm Royale, which is also another great free to play to jump in on. Firestorm from Battlefield 5 had to come out, of course. Call of Duty had to do Warzone, which Warzone, by the way, is the most popular mode to play Call of Duty because it is also free to play.
Yeah.
So I think that whole
well.
yeah, they had Blackout. Yeah. I think having battle royales as a brand new game type has been kind of interesting and really a good shape or reshaping, I guess, of like what is popular to play.
Yeah,
big old battle arena.
Games of service
great,
in general are like huge, and that is a huge function of it.
Huh. So on this list of battle royale games, Fall Guys is on there.
Yeah.
By technicality, yes.
There, yeah.
It is also, yeah. But I think that battle royales definitely helped shape, I guess, part of this generation, even though they didn't start until 2017.
Well, it also got developers rethinking how to make money. Like, it wasn't just on the gamer side; it was on the development side too.
Right.
So people were looking at it like, well, gamers can technically be happy, and we can still make more money by continuing this service and adding things. We don't have to create a whole new IP. We can just literally add and get ideas, and even from other games if that comes up. I mean, that's pretty much what PUBG was. Everybody looked at what PUBG was doing. Fortnite was like, screw what we're doing, make that. Mm-hmm. And it blew up because of how they did it.
Yeah.
Yep, absolutely. The next up, I guess, would be the game that actually lasted the entirety of this generation, including actually like bleeding into previous generations and has been on basically every platform of this generation and soon to come, is Grand Theft Auto 5.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Grand Theft Auto 5 has, aside from, I was going to go with Skyrim also, but I think Grand Theft Auto 5 being the second top grossing game of all time, second only to Minecraft.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think was a generational defining game of it really pushed the boundaries of what the current generation could do from a performance standpoint, from a game like a broadness perspective, like of like the things you can do in an open sandbox environment with an entire city, and a game that isn't necessarily built to be mod safe or mod ready, but still leaves that avenue open for, light hackers or light modders to come in and mod the game and turn it into RP communities and all kinds of things that didn't exist before, with the base game. But the base game itself had tremendous amount of capability. I think Grand Theft Auto 5 sits up there as an all-time favorite for this generation.
Not just this generation, the past generation, and the future generation.
I was about to say, one of my favorite jokes is the PlayStation 2 got 3 GTAs. The GTA 5 will get 3 PlayStations.
Yeah, it will. Yeah, look at that.
Yeah.
PS3, Xbox 360 starting at September 17th of September 2013. Then it released on the PS4 and the Xbox One at the same time on the 18th of November 2014. And then, of course, the part that I didn't like was that it ended up delayed on Windows on PC until April of 2015.
Yeah.
But it was a completely different game, and it played the same, but it looked completely different from beginning to end.
Yeah.
That's definitely a outsider when it comes to normalcy amongst games.
Yeah.
Well, and the talks of Grand Theft Auto 6 are already in the works, so
why? They could just keep using 5.
Who knows?
Apparently still making money.
But I mean, new techs come out, ray tracing's available. Can you imagine? Like, Grand Theft Auto 5 already looks beautiful whenever you look at it. Incredible. I cannot imagine with new graphical tech what this will look like.
That's true.
Like imagine an open sandbox environment of Microsoft Flight Simulator, but you can do everything.
Everything. So my answer, I mean, there's a lot to talk about in this generation. The rise of VR, and it's kind of figuring out its own thing right now. VR is definitely up there, of course. The indie revolution, which started in 360, PS3, and on PC, but really kind of
flourished,
built out into a thing where it's no longer that's an indie game. That's a game that's $15. That's a game $30. People accept it because it's a fun game. But I truly think one of the genres that truly define this generation is actually open world. Because open world started in 360 PS3, right? You got Assassin's Creed, you had Batman Arkham games, and it wasn't that they weren't done well, but there was always just something off. There was always like a weird, well, this crystal wall is preventing you from going any further. Batman, can't leave the city limits of the frickin' jail. You know, the Riddler's still running around. Those kinds of silly things. Whereas this is the generation we really got things coming out like The Witcher. We got things that are coming, Cyberpunk coming out here at the end of this year, supposedly. Even some games on the Nintendo's platform, Zelda moving into open world and doing open world in a way we have never seen before. Death Stranding, which you brought up earlier, doing open world in a very different way, which some people liked, some people didn't. This was the generation, I think, that really took that and said, no, we're going to build worlds in a way that people are either going to love them or hate them. Assassin's Creed went full into it. Open world RPGs, hundreds of hours of content. So I think that alone creates an interesting space, and it has me super excited for the next one. When I think about like Final Fantasy 15 went that direction. Naughty Dog started exploring open world spaces in a lot of their games. Even if it wasn't a full open world, they wanted to tool around in that ideology. It just kind of blows me away when you really go down the list of just how many are there, and not straight generic. Love the Infamous games, but it's like it's an open world superhero game. Same with Spider-Man, which I think is a great game, but it's open world superhero. Like, we got some really interesting takes on. I do think I do have a defining game, and it's The Last of Us Part 2. That game struck me in a very emotional way, for various reasons. I think it's absolutely gorgeous, has the gameplay that I was looking for in the world that I don't want to be a part of, but love exploring. And though it doesn't hit its mark 100%, I would argue the first one doesn't either. There's a lot of people with nostalgia that think it does.
Yeah.
Well worth experiencing. And something I still think about quite often. Also, I'm going through my trophy list while I'm talking about this, just because I was curious. Like, I keep finding things like Concrete Genie, which was a tiny open world, but done in like a really fun sandboxy way.
Division.
Division's another one. Online open worlds where you get to play with friends, which is like MMO, but not MMO, if that makes any sense. Like, there's just some interesting things. Like Nier Automata. It blows me away how many of those games exist. But yeah. Please let us know what your game or genre that defined the generation in the comments, floating directly in front of me like a shark bite. Because I lied, it's actually Maneater. Maneater is my game of the generation. But until next time.
Cheers.
I don't know if Mark's trying to blow, but we can finish the show first.
Damn it.